to the UK now, where Prime Minister Keir Starmer has announced that he is increasing defence spending to 2.5% of GDP by 2027. Now, I reckon Brits have Donald J. Trump to thank for this little announcement, and I'll explain why in a bit. But certainly watching Keir Starmer today, you wouldn't have guessed it.
I have long argued that in the face of ongoing and generational challenges, European countries must do more for their own defence. That is incontrovertible, a completely reasonable point. It is a generational challenge, of course it is, but one we must now take on.
I suppose it's just a coincidence that he is echoing very much the sentiments of Trump, which Trump has shouted from the mountaintops since he ran in 2016. He's always considered NATO these leech countries sucking on the teat to the United States. And he's always said, you flogs have to pull your socks up. I'm not funding this by myself. You guys have to spend more on your own defence spending if you want us to come to your aid when you're in trouble. Here he was just last February reminding everyone he still stands exactly the same position on the exact same issue second time around.
It was busted until I came along. I said, everybody's going to pay. They said, well, if we don't pay, are you still going to protect us? I said, absolutely not. They couldn't believe the answer. And everybody, you never saw more money pour in.
Trump's actually demanded that NATO countries increase their defence spending to 5% of their economic output. So Keir Starmer's basically just announced he's inching closer by 2027, but still falling quite short. But here he is addressing the nation once again, saying, this is how I'm keeping Britain safe now.
Our national security faces a critical moment. That is why we are increasing defence spending to 2.5% of GDP from April 2027, the biggest sustained increase since the Cold War. With my government, Britain will be secure at home and strong abroad.
Secure at home, mate. You had over 35,000 illegals cross the channel and make their way into your country last year alone, where they've been living high on the hog on the British taxpayer pound. But what I do love about what he's doing here is he's taking the funds from foreign aid to fit the bill for this increase. And I think that is something that all Western countries should do. I think foreign aid is completely and utterly blown out, and rarely does it ever actually achieve what the giving country has given it for.
What do you think about the foreign aid argument?
Well,
they're spending $3 billion a year housing illegal asylum seekers through their foreign aid.
Their foreign aid is very low.
I mean, there's an argument to be made that you have to pay a certain level of foreign aid to try and back off countries like China that spend shed loads around the Pacific nations. I'm talking in the Australian example here. There's an argument that you have to do that to try and repel them, but then you kind of end up in a bidding war because China has infinite money, basically.
That's what we're doing in the Pacific.
Exactly. So they say, well, we'll give them more money, so we say we've got to give them more money. I mean, you could go on and on and on and on forever when it comes to that circumstance. And perhaps when we come to those circumstances, we should be calling in the favours of some of our allies. But our foreign aid spend in Australia is about $5 billion, right? I think that's what it was in the last
financial year. It is.
$5 billion.
Yeah.
Our military spending last financial year was $53.3 billion, which was 2% of GDP. So if you took that $5 billion away from foreign aid and added it to the defence budget, you know, that's 10% you're adding on top, which is not an insignificant sum of money to add to it. Now, it's already forecast that we will reach 2.4% of GDP by 2027-28. So we're all sort of heading in the same direction. But we have to be heading in that direction. I mean, we have never been in a more precarious, we'll say never is not wrong. In the last 40, 50 years, we have not been in a more precarious position geopolitically. All the predictions from the US are that we could end up in some sort of conflict with China next decade, right? That's not far away. We're in 2025 now. 2030 is in 5 years' time.